This is Dr. Shahin Ghadir, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Fertile Life podcast. Today, I am very excited to have Jordan White with us. Jordan has done a million things. We were just going over some of her achievements, and there's actually so many to talk about. One of them is Hot House Flower. She is a fashion and beauty PR person, and she's done so much in that field. During the time that she was getting married, she started the bridalguide.com, had over like 2.5 million views. Right now, her Instagram page and everything that she's doing is really involved again with Hot House Flower. And she's talking today about her family life and her child and everything else that she's doing in this beautiful, exciting life. Jordan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm a big fan of yours. I've listened to you on your podcast as well as other people's podcasts. So I'm really excited to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I really want to get started because I'm excited. I want to talk about what you started off doing that kind of got you to where you are right now, opened the doors for you, how you got there. Tell us how you started off with the idea of Hot House Flower.
So prior to kind of starting my blog, which is Hot House Flower, I worked in fashion and beauty PR, and not to like date myself, but I started back in 2006. So it was, pre-social media, even pre-Twitter. And at that time, our focus in PR was getting our products, our fashion and beauty products on celebrities, as well as in print magazines. So the script has obviously completely changed. And as I went throughout my career, which was over 10 years in PR, I started to see, the rise of bloggers and influencers. And to be honest, I was really kind of burnt out of PR. I have so much respect for that industry. It's a lot of work, a lot of details. It can be thankless at times. So I just found myself really wanting to have a creative outlet. And so I just found myself getting opportunities to even speak for my clients, like on TV shows and things like that. And I was like, wait, I really like being on the other side of the camera. And so I decided to just start a blog on the side. I transitioned my career down to working in PR just part-time. And then eventually, and I believe it was like end of 2017, early 2018, I started going full-time with my blog, and it just kind of took off from there. And that was right around the time that I moved from Southern California to New York. And I feel like being in New York really gave me this new energy, and it just really helped me take my my platforms to the next level.
So let's talk a little bit about the platform and the blog. I think that's so, first of all, congratulations, because getting to the point that you can kind of leave one industry, and you're absolutely right, the PR industry is so demanding and so tough, and it just like drains you because there's so much to do there. But getting from that to be able to take on something completely new in terms of your blog, it's basically about like lifestyle, it's about social stuff, and it's a lot of stuff that I think is very, very, very interesting to women in this day and age. So what was one of the biggest challenges you had to make that transition?
So to be honest, as I was transitioning out and still in PR, I found myself having to convince my bosses that I didn't have one foot out the door, because honestly, if I could have stayed in PR and done it part-time, I love doing it. That's where all my contacts were. Like, that is what I built my career on and what I'd always wanted to do. But I found that a lot of my bosses had a huge problem with the fact that I had a slowly growing at that time social following. And this is honestly how I feel, that I feel like that is an asset. Like, if I know how to also do social media and I'm choosing to do that in my free time, I'm getting experience to work with brands. Like, one of my jobs in PR was also business development. So if I'm forging all these brand contacts, how is that not an asset? And ultimately, that ended up being like the impetus of like why I actually had to leave, because they kind of saw it as a threat, and I don't see it that way. So that was a challenge I kept running into. And then also, I was in my early 30s when I was pivoting. And so I felt like, I don't know, I had a lot of I was questioning myself. I was like, am I stupid? Am I like too old to be doing this? But at the end of the day, whenever I would get to work with the brand and be creative, like, that's what I absolutely love doing. My husband has become my photographer, and we just loved traveling and getting to work together in that capacity. So I just kind of saw that as something sustainable that I could do in my future. So,
well, in 2019, you and Scott tied the knot.
We
in
did.
Italy of all places,
We
which I'm
did.
really jealous. If I were to do it again, that's where I'd want to get married. So
I love it.
congratulations.
Thank you.
What led to that, by the way?
To getting married in Italy?
Yes.
Yeah, so we got married in Italy.
Where in
This
Italy, by the way?
Okay, in Florence at this
Oh,
amazing villa called Villa Cora. It reminded me of Versailles. It was just like we barely had to bring in any decor because it was just so Italian and so fabulous and so extra and over the top, that we really didn't need to do much. But we love traveling. We're both from California originally, so all of our family's in California, but New York is like our home. We love New York, but we were like, well, if we're going to make people fly to New York, we might as well just make them go to Europe. It's not that much further for them. And also, some of them hadn't been there before. And I think a big thing about my husband and I is like, we really want people to kind of think outside their comfort zones and experience new things. And we kind of felt like that was a gift for them to, have an excuse to go to Europe. And so many people afterwards were like, thank you so much. Like, we never would have taken the time off or, taken time away from our kids to come here. So that felt like really, really gratifying. But yeah, Italy's magical. It was between that and France. And we just love the culture in Italy. And it was just the best time. I wish we could do it again.
one of my favorite places in the world, Italy. I just, every single time I go, I love every new place that I discover there. But good for you. This is a testament to probably how amazing you are, and everything that you touch turns into gold and amazing. You started a bridal guide during that time that 2.5 million people enjoyed and learned from. How did you do that?
Okay, well, so Bridal Guide is like already a bridal publication. I have a column with them, so I can't take the credit for them having this amazing readership, but I was able to have a really successful column with them where I shared like my real girl experience, through my wedding planning process. I'm like super detail oriented, super type A, but I'm also kind of like scrappy and DIY. And so I like to think of outside the box when even curating these little boxes that you send to your bridesmaids to ask them to be in your wedding. Like, I really think that that's such a reflection of like you as a person and sets the whole tone for your wedding. So I just wanted to have fun and get creative with it. And I think that people really responded to that just because I was having such a good time with it. And I included every little detail. So that was definitely fun, and kind of a nice treat away from the daily blogging and social media stuff.
And then you look at me, a man that doesn't even know what bridal guide exactly is. So good for you.
That's all right. I don't think you're their audience, so I wouldn't worry about it.
You know what? I didn't cross my plate when I was getting married with the bridal guide. But I appreciate that. And honestly, I'm sure that your monthly column there is missed, and I'm sure you gave so much to that. Let's talk a little bit about what happened after that. So you became a mom in 2020. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been wild. So I guess it was 2 months after we got married in Italy, and we were thinking like maybe we'll start a family later on. I was 36 when we got married, so we had definitely waited a little while, and I was like, okay, maybe in a year, wrap up all this wedding stuff. And we were lucky enough to get pregnant unplanned in December 2019, and then found out we were pregnant in January 2020. And then, 2 months later, the world went crazy. So with COVID, so it has been a whirlwind, and I feel like I don't even know what's happening. Like, what is my life? Now I'm a mom living in New York. This is just not, I don't even know what happened. So it's been crazy.
And for me, as a fertility specialist, this is kind of going to be something I love talking about. The parenting journey and everything that goes along with it. Luckily, and congratulations to you for making that happen for yourself so easily. That's one big piece of luck in this world. How has that been? How do you love being a parent, and what's going on with that?
Yeah. So I honestly, it's been like a shock. We love our son. His name's Teddy. He's now
I love that name, by the way.
Thank you. He's almost 19 months now, which is insane. I love being a mom. I don't know. I had always known that it was going to be really hard, but I think especially with COVID being so isolated, like we couldn't even have childcare if we wanted it. We ended up moving back to California to have the baby because New York at the time was like going insane right around, April, May 2020, we didn't know what was going to happen. It was like the apocalypse. So we were like, we can't have a kid. Like, we got to go. So we went back to California where our families are. And it was just really hard. Like, we were around them, but everyone says they're going to help. Everyone's busy. Like, they can't help you. So we didn't have any help. I didn't realize, everyone always tells you babies sleep all the time. They don't sleep at night, but they sleep all day. That did not happen. And I just didn't realize how hard it was going to be to get literally anything done. And my husband, while he helps me with my blog, he also works full time. So he was having to do that. And so I kind of took on the brunt of the baby stuff, and having been like so career oriented my entire life and always just assuming that when it became time to have a kid, like we would just have the help we need and it would be fine. And I would have like this amazing balance. That just didn't happen. And I was like, this is really hard. Who am I? I felt like I was having an identity crisis. So that was super hard. And even now I feel like finally I'm starting to feel more like myself, but this is 19 months later. So it's been definitely taken a lot of adjusting, for sure.
Well, congratulations for getting past that time period, because I got to tell you something, it's hard for everyone. And it's hard for people that have help, and it's hard for everyone. I always, I have patients of mine asking me like, what if I put 2 embryos in? And now that I have 4 kids and my middle 2 are twins from IVF, I've tell them, if you don't have good help and reliable help around, they're like, yeah, my mom is going to be around. I'm like, no. Your mom is going to come and go. She's going to come and play with them for a little bit or babysit one afternoon and go. If you don't have real help, you got to consider things. So you have to have a support system. And to be very honest, I want to give credit. There are some grandparents out there that are really the primary caregivers of my patients. And I love them all for doing that and being there. But that's a very important thing to assess in your life, is what kind of help, what kind of support am I going to have when I have a child? And it's something to think about. And it's difficult for everyone. I mean, I have to say, like 3 to 6 months is so challenging for everyone to get into the groove, but I'm glad that you've gotten into the groove. Does the horizon show an opportunity for Teddy having another sibling to destroy a couple of years of your life again, maybe?
Amazing question. Yeah, so that's something we are currently grappling with. We want him to have a sibling. I have a really close relationships with my siblings. My husband is the same. And I'm like, I think that's like the ultimate gift to give him. Obviously, there's no guarantees that they will get along, but it's like, I feel like we have to try. I definitely don't want another baby. Like, that honestly sounds awful. I feel like we just did it. I ended up being able to breastfeed Teddy for a really long time, like until he was 13 months. So I really feel like we just did this, like he was just a baby. So yeah, that's something I think maybe in like this summer we'll start trying, but I also have to be cognizant of my age. Like, I'm going to be 39 in April. So we're definitely skewing a little older. I know my chances for fertility, go way down. So we're just trying to figure out what to do. Any advice is welcome.
Well, I got to tell you, first of all, the first thing I would do is go to your OBGYN and check a blood test called an AMH to see how you're doing in terms of your fertility reserve. Okay. Yeah, the anti-Müllerian hormone is probably one of the most recommended blood tests to see what your reserve looks like. The other thing is that, I have many patients just like you that their life is so busy and they do want to have a larger family. And that's why the area of surrogacy has grown tremendously. Now, I don't know if it was that the pregnancy was difficult or it's the post-care, but now you can, learn from what you need and be smart about it and make some plans in advance to have the appropriate help or whatever you need in order to make it more doable. I think planning and being smart and proactive about the entire parenting process is important. That's why when people call me and say, listen, I'm in my 30s, I just finished and I'm beginning like my education, I'm beginning my career, and I want to make sure. So freezing embryos, understanding what comes next, when to know when you're ready, and then thinking like, if your job is that demanding, and it is very difficult for some people to be pregnant as well, considering a surrogate, these are all things that are options. I'm not saying they're right for everyone. I'm not the one that forces people down any of these paths. But for many people, when they know what their options are, it kind of leaves doors open, and it's very, very useful.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I think for us, it's definitely the post-care. I was lucky enough to have like a pretty good pregnancy. He came a little early. He was like 25 days early. But other than that, it was really the aftercare, which was just like, what did we do? But I hear that that's normal. So
Do you, so anywhere in your blog, do you write about parenting challenges?
a little bit. I'm diving more into it. I honestly felt like when I was in the middle of it, I didn't even know how I was feeling about it. Like I was just kind of trying to survive. But now that I'm a little bit on the other side of at least the infant stage, I feel like uh, I can talk about it more. So that's something I want to do more this year, is definitely talk about that. I know everyone is just, I just feel like everyone is shocked the minute they have a baby. There's nothing you could do to prepare, and no, nothing anyone can tell you until you have that baby. You're like, oh, okay, like what's
But I
happening?
think I think that sharing your story, especially, I always commend people that have a voice and have a following. When you're open and transparent, especially like yourself, I think it goes a long way, because sadly, these fake lives of people we see on social media, and it's just like it's just not the real world. And you see 1 second glimpse of a photo during an entire day that is filled with beautiful photo moments and horrible photo moments, especially as a mom and as a parent. I think it goes a very, very long way to being open with people about it. And when people feel that they're not alone, I think that's empowering.
I agree. I definitely agree. I think I'm just trying to find the balance of my feed is curated for sure, but I think that there's a way to do that, and also in my captions, talk about the struggles that I'm going through for sure. So it's finding that balance, I
And
guess.
also maybe talking about some of the solutions. You
Right.
seem like someone who knows how to make things work, even when they're difficult and challenging. And I think talking about those solutions with people, like for in my world, we talk about, you need to freeze your eggs, you need to freeze your embryos, think ahead, be smart. And in your world, someone who's been through it, and I think just like it gives people another version of hearing it. And sometimes people just need to hear it. And if they do follow and they like what you say about other things, I think they'd love that area of your input as well.
Definitely. No, it's definitely something I want to incorporate for sure.
Let me ask you a question, because it's always easy to talk about what's like the hardest about being a parent. What's your favorite thing about being a parent?
Um, I think it's just really it's really fun to see his personality. I think one of the biggest challenges I had with the baby stage was just like I felt like I was talking to a blob. And so now that he's opinionated, he is like pointing at things that he wants to wear. Like that just gets me really excited just to see his like personality come through. I love seeing him. He hasn't had much interaction with kids because of COVID, but even just like seeing him with our dog and like feeding her, just the little moments of him interacting and kind of like exploring things is really cool to see. Hearing him talk now, he has a lot more words. He finally started calling me mama. Like that is really really cute to see. And he's obsessed with books, so just like having him point at the books, force me to read it, like knowing what he wants to eat. Just I think the opinions and the personality is my favorite part so far.
That is so nice. One of the things that I read about you and I loved hearing is that you inspire women to dream big. And I'm assuming that that's how you've lived your life. I really love that a lot, because I'm here empowering women with an area of their life, which is their fertility, that for me is really important and I believe in a lot. What is your best advice if you're going to give a woman advice to dream big and be successful?
Yeah. And when I say like dream big, it doesn't necessarily have to mean career. I think it's just about like really getting to know yourself away from your partner, if you have one, away from your kids, and like knowing what your identity is. And if you don't know what that is, taking the time to find it. And even if it's just like finding a daily thing, maybe a workout, something that you do that makes you feel like yourself, and then finding really what it is that brings you joy. I get a lot of fulfillment from my career. I get a lot of fulfillment from being creative. And especially right after I had Teddy and I couldn't really do those things as freely, I felt like that was really bad for my mental health. And like I kind of said earlier, I felt like I was having an identity crisis. So I just think it sets you up for success to have a dream or a goal in mind. Obviously, like live in the present, be present, but always be striving for something, whether it's a house or a trip or just going to your Pilates class that day, whatever it is, like just find the thing that makes you feel like you and go do it, and make sure that you have your own identity apart from everyone else. I went through a really crazy breakup in my early 20s. And I think that this is like really something that a lot of girls go through, especially their first relationship. You kind of sometimes can just get sucked up in it and just think of yourself as like, oh, like I'm his girlfriend or whatever. And then when we broke up, I remember at the time I actually had an amazing internship. I was interning at Chanel, and I was like crying in the park. He like broke up with me over the phone, like such a coward. Anyways, and so I was crying, and then I just remember I told myself, I was like, well, I'm going back to my career right now. Like I don't care. I have this, and I told myself then, like, I will always have something to go back to, no matter what happens. And I just feel like that gives you a lot of confidence in whatever you do.
I think that idea of having the self-esteem and confidence takes you through everything in this world. I love how you started the answer to that question, by the way, that said it doesn't have to be career oriented.
Right.
And that's so important. And I think people unfortunately give too much emphasis that you're only successful if you have a career. And I don't think that's true. I see my wife, who is a mom of 4, who manages a household and a lot of our life outside of my clinic and everything else that she does, with making it look so simple, where it's so much harder than what I do. And the credit is just not there. Right. So if she's listening, I want to give her credit for that. And I want her to not say I've never said that. But we don't say it enough. Right. We definitely do not say it enough. On that note, you've now started something even new. And again, another challenge. It's diamonds. It's all about diamond jewelry. Let's talk about that.
So I'm so excited. I actually haven't even announced this yet, but I'm excited. I'll announce it with you. So I have a fine jewelry line that I have collaborated with another kind of already established e-commerce jewelry company. And we're starting my own namesake line. The first drop should be in April, but things could change with COVID and everything. But it's going to be all fine jewelry and diamonds. Diamonds are my birthstone. I love sparkle. I mean, what girl doesn't? But kind of the whole point of it goes back to everything that I kind of said. Like, I really want women to find a way to feel special every day and feel like themselves. So if that's like a little bit of sparkle in your ear, just remind you like that you're badass or whatever, I think that is great. I find a lot of confidence in clothing and jewelry and just feeling my best. So hopefully that can bring a little bit of like sparkle and confidence to everyone too. So really excited about that. It's my first time ever like having a product. So I'm excited.
That's nice. That's nice. When are you going to be announcing who it's with and when it's coming and where people can find it?
Hopefully sometime in like mid-March. We just want to make sure that like the production schedule is going to be on, but yeah, I will keep you posted for sure. I'm really excited about it.
Wonderful. Well, we wish you the best of luck in that. I think I could just continue and talk. And I've really loved talking to you, Jordan. You're so inspiring. You have a beautiful smile and a glow that comes out of you. For people that I'm seeing her, so I know people are going to be only listening, but you're just radiant, and I love that. And we need to have more people like you out there. And I want to congratulate you on everything you've done, everything that you do to inspire women and make them dream big, which I love. And I'm going to remember that line whenever I see your name and look at it. If people want to learn more and follow along and just be a true fan, how do they do that?
Yeah, so you can follow me. I think the most direct way to find me is on Instagram at hothouseflower, and that's spelled HAUTEHOUSE, then the word flower. Or you can find me on my blog, hothouseflower.com. I'm on all the platforms as that, but Instagram is definitely the best way.
That's wonderful. Well, I want to thank you again for joining me today. I really enjoyed speaking to you. I want to thank everyone who is listening right now, and we will see you on the next episode of the Fertile Life podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.